Okay, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luz Pereyra. I am a diplomat from the Embassy of Argentina. Today, we will have a panel that is one of the many events that the Embassy have planned for Pride Month, and we are really honored to have 5 panelists, first world-class panelists who are here with us today. We will evaluate a little bit the impact of COVID-19 on LGBT community. We will structure the panel in 3 slots. The first slot, we will have Erasmo Sanchez from the NGLCC Global Division and Julio Cesar from the Costa Rica Diverse Chamber of Commerce. They will be speaking a little bit about their collaboration and the effect of COVID-19 and how they have taken different measures to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. Then we will have Pablo Sismanian from our Ministry of Tourism. We are very honored to have him here. And then we will have, I'm sorry, can you believe I'm being delivered a package? Then we will have Pablo De Luca, who is a representative of the Argentinian Chamber of Commerce, LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Both Pablos will be talking a little bit about their public-private partnership to address different economic effects COVID-19 has caused on small and medium-sized businesses. And then we'll have Thomas Roth, who is the president and founder of Community Marketing and Insights. He has done an amazing research about the effects of COVID-19 on travel in the LGBT community. And what can we expect about changes in travel patterns for the future? So now I will give the floor to Erasmo Sanchez and to Julio Cesar Calvo. And thank you very much. I'm so sorry about this interruption, so embarrassing. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Maria Luz. And special thanks to the Embassy of Argentina for providing us with this platform. Over the next few minutes, I would like to go over some of the initiatives carried out by NGLCC Global to support LGBT chambers of commerce throughout the world as these continue to experience different challenges as a result of the pandemic. I'll start with a brief description of NGLCC and NGLCC Global. NGLCC is the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. It's an organization dedicated to expanding economic opportunities for the LGBT business community. And it's also the exclusive third-party certifying body for certified LGBT businesses in the United States. NGLCC Global is the international division of NGLCC. It is a network comprised of LGBT chambers of commerce and business networks all over the world, including chamber affiliates in Costa Rica, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Brazil, Uruguay, and Ecuador. NGLCC Global is devoted to promoting economic empowerment and inclusive economic growth for LGBT people and LGBT-owned businesses throughout the world. As a network, it builds on the strengths of each partner and shares best practices while also developing a deeper understanding of the challenges that LGBTI people and business owners face worldwide. During the initial stages of the pandemic, it was very important to us, first of all, to be able to listen carefully to our global chamber leaders in order to have a clear understanding of the challenges they faced through a series of conversations, email interactions, and so forth. We learned that most of them could no longer implement their own projects or host in-person activities due to lockdowns and travel restrictions. We also learned that some of our chambers have not had much experience conducting virtual activities or using online platforms. So it was crucial for us to be able to provide the chambers with additional information and resources on how to use virtual platforms, in addition to access to learning resources for them to start coming up with ideas of what sort of activities their chambers would be able to implement and how. Luckily for NGLCC Global, we were able to provide our chamber leaders with access to what has become our strongest asset during this pandemic. That would be the NGLCC COVID-19 Resources and Economic Support online platform, which was launched successfully during the month of March. Through this platform, the global chamber leaders were able to join insightful workshops and training sessions, innovative panels with renowned experts from different sectors. They were also able to join networking sessions along with their members and NGLCC international corporate partners. Lastly, through the NGLCC COVID-19 online platform, our global chambers were also able to join us for presentations on relevant topics, from how to conduct innovative virtual activities to how to transition to the new normal of living and working through a pandemic smoothly. Some of the chambers also experienced some financial losses as a result of the extended lockdowns. To that end, we realized that there were a number of untapped funding opportunities available through civil society organizations, public entities, and private foundations. I should also mention that our global chambers work independently from each other, and so they are able to create and work on their own projects individually, separately from NGLCC Global. As the pandemic continued to grow, NGLCC Global became more aware of several funding opportunities from our organizations within our network. And so as we became more aware of these potential funding opportunities, we also started to conduct additional in-depth research in order to seek for other funding opportunities that perhaps we were not aware of. And so in the end, we decided to share these funding opportunities with our chambers through an intentional and very straightforward strategy, as we were able to identify two different types of funding opportunities, or as we call them, grants. The ones that seemed like a perfect match for some of our chambers, for which we proceeded to set up individual virtual meetings and calls to provide them with additional feedback on everything related to the application process and very specific requirements for these grants. The second type of funding opportunities that we identify were the ones for which any LGBT organization or business anywhere in the world could apply for. And in order to make our global chambers and their members aware of these opportunities, we decided to launch an internal newsletter featuring not only funding opportunities for our global chambers and their members, but also relevant information regarding trainings and other virtual activities hosted by NGLCC and other like-minded organizations throughout the world. This newsletter has also provided NGLCC Global and our global chambers with an excellent platform to stay connected throughout the pandemic, as it also includes upcoming activities in which the chambers and its leaders will be taking part of. Overall, the pandemic has also provided us with an opportunity to think outside the box and make use of NGLCC's best asset, which is our network of stakeholders and invaluable amount of innovative learning resources to empower the LGBT community in the United States and anywhere in the world. Thank you for listening. I will look forward to your questions later on. And I will now leave you with our next panelist, Mr. Julio Calvo, President of the Costa Rica Diverse Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, Erasmo, and Pura Vida from Costa Rica. That was our typical slang in our country. I want to thank the Embassy of Argentina as well for this great invitation and this great opportunity to participate on this panel and let everybody know worldwide how our Chamber of Commerce in Costa Rica is leading the way in Central America to promote equal rights for everyone and equal rights in the economics as well in the country. Our chamber started in middle of July 2015, and since we started the chamber, we decided that our chamber not only should advocate for the economics, but also for the human rights. And since then, we've been working along with the government, public entities, and private entities in order to get benefits for the LGBT community in Costa Rica. But not only Costa Rica, but also for the numbers of LGBT refugees that we have from Central America coming to Costa Rica, looking for an opportunity to grow as professionals and also as human beings. During this hard times, we've been developing different tools in order to achieve different goals in different ways to give the enough tools to the transgender community, to the lesbians and gays in Costa Rica to promote their own businesses and to not stop their way to grow as a businessman and businesswomen in Costa Rica. The pandemic, of course, has been hit a lot in Costa Rica, especially because we depend on the tourism industry a lot, I have to say. It's more than the 12% of the GDP in Costa Rica. And once we heard about the news of the pandemic in the other side of the world, Costa Rica started taking precautions on how to manage this disease, this virus in Costa Rica. We have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. So our government established very powerful lines, and all the population were told how to behave in order to prevent the contamination and the spread. In the last 3 months, we have 12 people that are passed away, and we're over 2,000 people nowadays that got contaminated, and over 1,500 people that already got healed from it. However, it's still growing a little bit, but the government is doing a great job in that regard. To the LGBT community, it's been hard because all the small business owners, some of them started business last December or a few months ago during this year, and it was hard for them to start that restaurant or that souvenir shop and then close the month later due to this pandemic. Our chamber has been working along with the private companies and our members in order to not let this pandemic make them nervous and close down their businesses. So our Chamber of Commerce decided last month to give the membership renewal free of charge this year in order to help and support these members so they can, and the professionals, in order for them to remain in the chamber. And we've been developing different tools in order to give them different ways to improve their businesses along this month. It's been hard for them to grow their businesses because they've been locked down for 3 months, zero income coming. And the government in that way give kind of a check payment to these companies in order to maintain themselves during these 3 months of the pandemic. It's been hard for them, we know, and they're usually in contact with our chamber to see how they can improve their businesses and how they can get more clients, especially from the tourist industry. Like I say, it's very important for us, the tourist industry at this moment. However, we're working in different ways to attract the LGBT market in Costa Rica, taking in consideration that we just celebrate the approval of the equal marriage past 26th of May. And this has been great for these small business owners because they are now preparing this material in packages to offer to the national LGBTIQ couple that want to get married in Costa Rica. And our chamber been supporting a lot all these initiatives by providing them exposure in our social media, but also through the newsletter that we're sending out in order to promote within the country all these companies and small business owners. Also, we're creating at this moment it's going to be launched next week probably, a program, a free TV show, so they can get exposure on this TV show, in which we will talk about different topics in regards to the human rights, how to manage the pandemic, and also they will receive free advertisement through this to this show that we're recording every week. So that's how we've been telling people how they can approach to the chamber and get benefits from us. It's hard to develop a business plan, but we've been talking about how we can take advantage of this situation, this hard situation, and improve ourselves as people, and also improve the life of the LGBT community in Costa Rica. Therefore, we've been working on the 2021 business plan that will be announced in the next month, that will include, of course, more attraction of investors to Costa Rica due to the good management of the virus in the country, because that is building trust to potential investors for 2021, but also for the LGBT community that can have confidence to come to Costa Rica, not only for vacations or for a tour, but also to invest their money or invest in buying a home or etc. The country now have very nice laws that protect us, not only for the LGBT community, but also for the trans community specifically, in terms of how improve their lives during this pandemic. So the government is giving checks to the trans community as well in order to bring them food, shelter, so they're not abandoned on the streets. And our chamber is working along with those programs in order to promote different ways of supporting them in terms of finding them either education, scholarships, and shelter, of course, and food. We've been recollecting some food through the community in Costa Rica, so they can get food to not be starving on the streets. And that's how the chamber has been working and getting along with the community in Costa Rica and trying to support each other in the country during these hard and difficult times. We know it's not going to be easy to overcome this situation. That's why our Chamber of Commerce is working with other tourism chambers in Costa Rica and also with the government, with the tourism board and other institutions in order to minimize the impact of the virus in Costa Rica. We're expecting to open airports within 2 weeks, and that will bring confidence to the industry, but also to the potential investors, like I said before, to come and visit Costa Rica pretty soon. And that's how we've been developing our business plan for 2020 that now we're converting it into the 2021 business plan to overcome this situation. And of course, Costa Rica is doing a great job as well supporting the Central American brothers that we have and sisters by receiving and welcome some of them into Costa Rica from those countries that are not being hit hard in Central America from the COVID. And we're right there to support our sisters and brothers from the LGBT community that are coming to our country to asking for healthcare and protections. That's how basically we're trying to support each other in Costa Rica. I want to appreciate and thank again the Embassy of Argentina for this opportunity, and very proud to be part of the NGLCC Global. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erasmo and Julio. Thank you very much for the update. Now we will give the floor to Pablo Sismanian and Pablo De Luca. And they're an excellent example about how a public-private partnership can work towards defending the LGBT community rights. I will give the floor to them now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. First of all, it's an honor for me to be part of this meeting. On behalf of the Minister of Tourism and Sports of Argentina, Matias Lamens, and the Executive Secretary of Improtour, Ricardo Sosa, I want to thank especially the Embassy of Argentina in Washington for organizing this event. I want to greet Maria Luz Pereyra, representing the Embassy, all the members of the panel, and all of the attendees. When we talked about LGBT plus tourism, From Argentina, we refer to a segment of travelers which interests are not different from others, but who are looking for destinations that are safe and respectful with their community. From ImproTour, and together with the Argentinian Chamber, we've been carrying out for over 10 years a hard work to raise awareness from all the destinations so that the LGBTQ plus community travelers are received with the respect and love. Argentina has adopted specific measures to control the pandemic, and it's been giving good results. In fact, nowadays we have provinces that had no cases or had very few. We have developed protocols for hotels and restaurants since we are aware of the importance of sanitary security among the arrival of tourists from abroad. In a few days, on July 15th, Argentina will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the equal marriage law, and we are proud to be the first country in Latin America and the second in the Americas after Canada to take this step. Within this framework, in Argentina, our brand Love Period describes and exposes in the simplicity of the word the Argentina positions towards travelers from the LGBT community, taking over a universal feeling that includes everyone. For Argentina, which is a very diverse country in its compositions, but also inclusive, without any racial, religious, or political conflicts, the guarantee of civil rights for its entire population is a state policy. The LGBT tourism has become a key segment for ImproTour. It continues to grow and has a great potential, which requires a social commitment as well as cooperation and joint work between the different sectors involved. Thank you very much for this space, and I would like to introduce Pablo De Luca, the president of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce from Argentina.
Thank you, Pablo. I will share my screen if I can. Yes, here. Thank you very much to everyone for inviting us to share a little bit of the work that from Argentina, LGBT Chamber of Commerce, together with the Ministry of Tourism, through ImproTour, with the Argentine Chamber of Tourism as well, and the Argentine Embassy in the United States, we've been doing promoting Argentina and all its LGBTQ welcoming destinations. I want to give a special thanks to Luz, and also a special thanks particularly to Julio, to all of you, but especially to Julio, and because we want to say welcome to Equality Costa Rica, welcome to Equality Central America. We celebrate that this is happening in the middle of the pandemic. This year we celebrate our first 10 years as an LGBT organization that works for the inclusion of people from our LGBT community in the workplace and promoting and positioning Argentina internationally as an LGBT destination. We also celebrate 10 years of working side by side with the National Institute for Tourism Promotion in this task of telling the world, and especially to LGBTQ travelers, everything that our country has to offer them. And most importantly, we celebrate 10 years of one law that defines a turning point in the path of equality. On July 15, Argentina celebrates its 10th anniversary of the enactment of the equal marriage law. We started 2020 together with the new federal administration, participating in one of the most important tourism trade shows in the world in Madrid. It's called Fitur, in which its organizers recognize our country as International LGBT Destination 2020, an award that we received together with our Minister, Matias Lamens, the Secretary of Promotion, Janina Martinez, and the Executive Secretary of ImproTour, Ricardo Sosa. A few days later, the data of the Gay Travel Index, which is produced each year by Spartacus in Germany, which recognizes the countries for their efforts in the inclusion and treatment of their own LGBT community and of travelers from this group that visit them, was announced. In 2020, in 2020 index, I mean, we climbed several positions, reaching the top 5 positions along with countries such as Canada, Sweden, Spain, United Kingdom, which motivated us to continue working strongly together, both internationally and within our territory. March brought us the COVID crisis, and our work promoting Argentina had to be reformulated to lead to the handling of a crisis unprecedented in history. Our focus, together with our Ministry of Tourism and our partner Introductory, was naturally to attend to the emergency. In these times, we have refocused on generating content that helps keep the spirit of travel alive while preserving our lives by complying with quarantines and temporary border closure protocols. Campaigns like Traveler's Dreams helped us continue to show the world that we are waiting for you all here when this is over. And this crisis was also an opportunity to consolidate the huge work that we have been doing in our country, which we also know will be the engine of recovery through domestic tourism, strengthening the federal LGBT tourism network, which we coordinate with our chamber together with Introductory. Today, we are 50 or more than 50 small and medium and large destinations throughout Argentina that work together in a virtual way, preparing themselves for the day after, when we all will have to go out to defend and support each company and each job in this, our tourism sector. In the nearby plans, we have postponed our G-Network 360 international event, the 13th edition, for November 2020, if the evolution of the pandemic favors us and allows us to carry it out. And in collaboration with Introductory, we are also preparing the second LGBT tourism marketing plan for the next 4 years, as well as the creation of the first LGBT tourism observatory to measure and correct the directions of our work, making it more precise every day and giving free access to all of our destinations and service providers. In this month of June, month of Global LGBT Pride, we are proud of everything we have been able to do and more proud to be able to promote our country, Argentina, a place in the world where everyone can be who they are and love whoever they want to love. Happy Pride to everyone, and thank you very much for having invited us today. Thank you. And now I'm so glad to introduce you, a really good friend of us. We admire his work very much. We want you to receive the Thomas Roth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops.
I'll share my screen.
Yes, I cannot. Let me check. Oops.
Is that working?
Yes, that's perfect.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, Pablo and Pablo. Congratulations on 10 years of the Chamber, 10 years of marriage equality. Congratulations to Julio Cesar for the first year of marriage equality. This is a fantastic milestone for all of us. My portion here is to share some of our most recent research on LGBTQ tourism and the effect of COVID-19. First, I want to thank Maria Luz and the embassy for organizing this event. I don't know of any other embassy in the world that is organizing an event like this. It just says a lot about the commitment of the Argentina government and the Argentina Embassy and Tourism Office to support LGBTQ tourism. I'm a big fan of tourism. I've been a traveler all my life and I really enjoy travel. When I'm in Buenos Aires at the invitation of Pablo and Gustavo for their annual events, I try and take a bicycle tour, and I've really enjoyed that. And this last year, I added an extension. I went to Iguazu Falls, and I did a 3-country bicycle tour. This is me crossing the bridge from Argentina to Brazil. This is me entering Paraguay. This is me taking the barge across the river back to Argentina and on the Argentina side. It's such a fantastic destination. I'm passionate about Argentina. and especially love the fact that Argentina is passionate about me as an LGBTQ visitor. A little bit about my company. I started the company back in 1992. We've been an NGLCC certified supplier ever since the program began 15-something years ago. We are a full service research company, but focused exclusively on LGBTQ. So that makes us very special, very different. We do our research based on a panel, which is basically a database of LGBTQ consumers who represent the full spectrum of the LGBTQ community. When we do a survey, we don't highlight just gay men. We really work, as you'll see in the research results, to showcase the diversity within LGBTQ, because we feel that that's super important to understand. And our clients are all across the world. I wanted to start with a short slide, not from the COVID study, but from our most recent LGBTQ community survey, and that's about terminology. Terminology is very important, and that's why I wanted to include this in the discussion today, even though it is not travel specific. It is very LGBTQ specific. All of us are engaged in some way in communications, right? Communications is expressing something to somebody else. And if we can't use the right terminology, we may not resonate. We may not gain the acceptance of the people that we are communicating to. And that's why the terminology for our community is very important to understand. And interestingly, it changes all the time. When I started my company back in 1992, it was called the gay market. We worked very hard to share with our clients that it's not just gay, it's gay and lesbian. Because if you're talking about gay and lesbian, you really have to include the lesbian community. And then we started to be more and more inclusive. We started to have GLBT, and then we started to have LGBT, and now we have reached LGBTQ to be as inclusive as possible. Because LGBT is really about the binary. The Q includes people who do not identify with the binary of male or female, gay or lesbian. So it's a really important addition to our name. We may stop there, I'm not sure. You never know with our community. Maybe in 2 years, we're sharing something new. But you can be fine with LGBT. You can be fine with LGBTQ. Gay men are still fine with the term gay, but it really doesn't resonate across the entire community, of course. We started researching a couple of years ago, the plus, LGBT plus and LGBTQ plus, the plus meaning everybody else. And that's starting to gain some traction, but it's still not quite as strong. The term queer is fine within ourselves. I can call Pablo De Luca queer, he doesn't mind, but I do not want American Airlines calling me queer. So it's all context, how we use the term queer. Within our community, okay. But outside the community, to me, not okay. I also want to point out the LGBTQI. The I is used very commonly in Latin America. It's also used very commonly in Europe. It's not very common yet in North America. It's a matter of nuance. So when you're communicating with LGBTQ, you have to understand which markets you're talking to, because it will be a little bit different. There's even nuance in North America. If you look at USA to Canada, Canada includes a term called Two-Spirit. That's their native population term for queer, basically, for someone outside of the binary. So they use LGBTQ or LGBTQ2 or 2S. And so depending on who you're talking to, the terminology may be different. Now, to get a little bit into some highlights, I'll be happy to share this presentation as well as the report with anybody who wants one. I'll show my email address at the end. So I'll go through a little bit quickly because there's so much to cover and we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to kind of give you an overture, an orientation to what's contained. I want to touch base just a little bit on how we approached the study. We did a study that included 1,864 self-identified members across the LGBTQ community living in the United States. And when we work on our reporting, we're very careful to be sure that we include the entire spectrum of the LGBTQ community. One thing that drives us crazy is when we see a report on the LGBTQ community, but then when you look at the methodology, you see that it's 89% gay white men. And that really doesn't represent the entire spectrum of the community. So we work very hard to make sure that we're inclusive. So about 46% are gay and bi men, 46% are gay and bi women. And we have a term called gender expansive, which means transgender, trans men, trans women, gender non-binary, gender queer, and so forth, gender fluid. And this makes sure that we understand that their opinions as well. The survey was fielded in May. May was a very turbulent time in COVID. At that point, many countries were closed or closing. The response to the pandemic in the United States, which is this study's report, was very political and still is very political, to the point where you will see Republicans who are Trump supporters not wearing a face covering. You'll see Democrats who are not Trump supporters wearing a face covering. So it's become very political and very strange, and everything in the United States is very, very polarized and political right now, including this pandemic, which is a sad state of affairs, but there it is. We also focused on those who had traveled in the past. This isn't a study of all LGBTQs. They're a study of travelers who recently in the past year had taken a trip. We really want to understand the change that took place for them. And it's not really a comparison with the general population. It's kind of a deeper dive into LGBTQ. So let's start off with financial. As may be expected, as may be assumed, COVID-19 has had an impact even on the LGBTQ community. 17% a major impact, 32% a minor impact. 43% though said that it was little or no impact, and even 6% said it had a positive financial impact. I think it's depending on where you stand in your employment, what kind of industry you're in, if you've been laid off, etc. And it's really across the board, across gender and generation, and also across income. People with the lowest income, however, have been impacted the worst. We also asked this question about financial confidence. Financial confidence from the community survey. Last year, 28% said that they were better off. 48% said that they were about the same, and 23% said that they were a little bit worse off than the past year. So when we're looking at the future year, it's kind of similar. Where you'll see the differences, though, are when we look at the spectrum of LGBTQ. You'll see in the chart on the right that those who are Generation X are affected most. You'll see that the African American, the Black African American community is affected the most. And you'll also see that gay and bi men are also affected heavily. So this is really important to understand, that there's a difference even within LGBTQ. We're not one singular market. I think all the marketers on this webinar will agree there is no one singular LGBTQ market. And the more you can understand the differences within LGBTQ, the better. Let's look at travel. I think this is great. We want to rebound. We want to come back. We're desperate to come back for travel. How pent up is your desire to travel for a vacation? Again, this was just a month ago. And we found that the vast majority of LGBTQ travelers are dying to go somewhere and do something. 69% had an extreme to moderate desire to travel again for vacation. Only 12% said that they were going to hold off. They were very concerned, and that concern leads them to not want to travel just yet. So we're looking at an opportunity here. Right now, we're kind of frozen, even with borders closed. But as that opens up, I think we're going to be looking for a place to travel. And you'll see that lesbian and bi women and gay and bi men are very strong. You'll see millennials are particularly strong. You'll see that those who earn $100,000 US or more are also very strong. So this is a market for Argentina when the doors open again. Of course, as everybody probably on this webinar has done, we've canceled travel. I had a trip to visit Milan, Italy, and do some bicycle touring in Switzerland with my husband for the IGLTA convention. And of course, that was canceled. So that's very disappointing. All of us had trips that were canceled. 72% of the LGBTQ community have canceled trips, primarily due to COVID through spring and early summer. So that's obviously a major economic impact. And as Julio Cesar was saying about Costa Rica and many different destinations depend heavily on tourism. So it's a big hit that we've all taken, and we really don't know the ripple effect, how long this will last. But we're all looking forward to it resuming. The good news is that most LGBTQ travelers plan to travel in 2020. One trip or maybe even 2 or more vacations. Almost half want to take 2 or more vacations, holidays, through 2020. And only 29% of those who are intending to travel have actually booked the trip. Therefore, the good news is there's opportunity. If we can reach them, if we can market to them, if the borders are open, if the flights are flying, we want to travel. We want to be invited to visit Argentina. The bad news, of course, is that the volume of travel will be less. You can see even internationally, about 23%, we would be at about 23% of total travel internationally of the community this year. A really expected travel is about 11%. So it is down. There's no sugarcoating that, as we say here in the United States. Sugarcoating means just sweeten it a little bit. It is bad news, and we all have to understand it's bad news, something that we all have to work to overcome. But I believe that marketing, I believe that opening the doors, as Argentina has for 10 years, will do the trick. Destination types by demographic, they vary. We'll see that traveling internationally varies a little bit as well. The strengths are among gay and bi men, and among the millennials, although all of them really feel that they want to take, all of those who are traveling internationally, the 11%, it's really pretty strong across all demographics, but the real strength, I would say, there is gay and bi men and millennials. And again, it's super important to look at the differences in genders and generations. Otherwise, we really don't know what that 11% means. It really ranges from 7 to 14 if you look at the different gender identities. I also think this is really important when we're looking at activities while traveling on vacation. It's changed a lot. If we look at past LGBTQ tourism surveys that we've produced, going to a museum, shopping, restaurants, all very, very important. Now you look at going to a museum, shopping, going to bars and clubs, really, really small. We want to do outdoor activities, even in an urban neighborhood. And urban destinations have just as much potential as others. We want to be outdoors exploring those urban neighborhoods. We don't necessarily feel attracted to spend a lot of time indoors right now. So that's, I think, an important learning in terms of your marketing and communications. If we're looking at Argentina, if we're looking at Buenos Aires, if we're looking at Costa Rica, if we're looking at Brazil, we're looking at outdoor activities, even in an urban destination. Of course, this summer, Pride has been canceled. Pride will be canceled probably through the summer season in Latin America as well. So we're not seeing an emphasis on Pride, and it's unfortunate because Pride has often been a catalyst for visiting a country. So we're going to look at precautions. LGBTQs are generally very educated. We are generally very cautious about safety, and we're very aware of opportunities to be more protected while we travel, and we're taking advantage of those. So some of the things that our LGBTQ community panelists are saying, while they're traveling, 93%, almost everybody is going to practice safe physical distancing. We're going to avoid crowded places. Restaurants are opening up, of course, but they're opening up with 6 feet, 2 meters between tables. The wait staff and the people eating in the restaurants are wearing face covers primarily until they actually have to eat or drink something. Wearing a face cover in public places, outdoor activities and attractions, these are all some of the ways that we're going to travel, but we're going to travel more cautiously. And similarly with hotels, 10% feel very safe and comfortable. Many hotels are doing a lot of work. You probably received email or 20 emails by now from the hotel companies telling you the different precautions that they're taking. And I think it's having an effect. Most of us feel pretty comfortable about the work that hotels are doing to make sure that we are safe and comfortable while we travel. And on the right side, some of the things that we'll do while we're in a hotel to be safer. The main thing is safe distance from other guests, wearing a face mask, a face cover, and distancing from staff. I'm going to start to end up with a few slides from our community survey. This is not travel specific, but I think it's really important now more than ever. And in the United States and some other countries around the world, I won't say Brazil, we're facing governments that are not necessarily supportive of our community. And we feel that corporations, organizations, including tourism offices, including embassies and government institutions, those that support our LGBTQ equality are more important than ever. We can't count on the government to protect us. So any company that comes out in support of our community is going to get more of our business. The companies that come out, they support LGBTQ equality, are earning market share. They're the ones who are making a difference for our community, and we, like every community, we vote with our wallet. We take out money, we take out pesos, we take out rubles for companies that will support our community. And we also, in the United States here, feel that there will be a rollback of LGBTQ equality gains in the coming year. If there's a re-election, then we have 4 more years of real problems. We did have a win in the Supreme Court. Maybe some of you have heard about protections for employment, but we have a lot of work to do, and our government has not been supportive. So we really need a change of government, and there's a lot of anxiety. We actually tested this in the community about what's to come. Companies make an impact. I would say destinations make an impact by seeing you advertise. You have to continue to advertise, especially in our LGBTQ media. I'm sure that every destination advertises in the general media, and yes, the LGBTQ community does see that advertising, but when you place ads in our own media, it makes a far greater impact. Also, when a brand sponsors an LGBTQ event, sponsors the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, in the news supporting our issues, you also gain a lot of impact and therefore market share as a result. On our website, there are many different studies that are free to download. You have our community survey, which literally we just published this week. I really encourage you to download that and learn from the LGBTQ community survey. You can find our tourism and hospitality survey, and to the right of that, kind of an update, the COVID-19 LGBTQ travel study that we just completed last month. These are available for free. I really encourage you to learn from these. We also have a consumer product survey, a health survey, and an auto ownership survey, and a lot more. So if you'd like a copy of this presentation, any of the reports that I discussed, I'll put a link together for you to download. I'll reply back with an email that has the links to download it. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share some of our research with you. Partnering with the LGBTQ Chamber in Argentina, partnering with the LGBTQ Chamber in Costa Rica has been so fulfilling for me and my company, and so rewarding. And we just love working with the members of these organizations. So please now take it back, Maria Luz. Again, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I think we're moving to questions and answers.
Yes, thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much for the lesson about how we should not interpret LGBT as one singular market. I think that's a great lesson for us to take home. We will open for Q&A, and I would like to start this with a question for you, Thomas, about taking into consideration how we need travelers to feel safe when we open again. What message, taking into account your experience in marketing, what message should our tourism ministry, what message should Costa Rica take to transmit to the travelers here in the US to come to our countries and visit us?
Unmute? Yeah, I'm back. I think there are three things to consider. One is you have to create a desire for the destination in general, the beauty of the destination, show LGBTQ people enjoying the destination. That's the main reason someone would travel. No one would travel to somewhere else to feel safe, because we can probably feel safer in our own home. So we want to travel someplace that inspires us. So that's the main thing. But two other sub-messages, I think, are one, that you are LGBTQ friendly and welcoming, because still Argentina, still Costa Rica are among a small handful of countries that are genuinely LGBTQ welcoming. So that gives you what we call in marketing a difference, a distinction among all the different destinations in the world. You really have stepped up and you've made your destination genuinely. It's not just marketing, it's a genuinely real, authentic destination. And the third is to emphasize, kind of subtly, safety, that the hotels are super clean, that there are opportunities to do outdoor activities, that the urban neighborhoods are beautiful for their architecture, that the coastline is spectacular, that the wine country is spectacular, that Iguazu Falls is spectacular, and these can be experienced very safe, and they can be done in a way that will not jeopardize that safety. So I think those are the three messages. Number one, of course, is just promoting the destination, as you always do, but including messaging, imagery about LGBTQ friendly, welcoming, and also a little more subtly, you don't want to say, come to Argentina, it's safe, right? That's not very motivating. But come to Argentina. We're the first Latin American country to recognize same-gender relationships. And we have many outdoor and beautiful experiences, even in the context of COVID-19.
Thank you.
And
so
if anyone
much.
else wants to add to that, of
Yes,
course, they're welcome
I was thinking Pablo was unmuted. Maybe he wants to add something.
I agree completely with Thomas. And I think it's not only because I agree that if we want to be safe, we are going to stay home. Particularly when we want to travel, we choose those destinations where we feel respected and where mostly their local population, their local LGBTQ community is respected the same way we are. If not, wouldn't be an authentic message. It would be just to bring us to spend our money there. So I agree completely.
Thank you. Julio, do you have any plan now that the airport is opening in 2 weeks? What are the plans for the future in Costa Rica and Pura Vida?
Well, thank you again for this, and thank you, Tom, for this incredible exposure about the LGBT community. And just to add some of what Tom just said is, yeah, it's very important that we keep selling our destinations as we do, but also we have to guarantee that rooms are super clean. But not only that, in the airport, we need to give a warm welcome to anyone to be treated as a human person, not exactly as an LGBT person. I believe that in the near future, we should eliminate all the letters and just call everybody like the way we are, people, persons, human beings. And we need to treat ourselves as human beings and respect that. And that security we have to offer, not only because the COVID, but also because the tourists and the investors and the visitors are going to feel safe because there will be respect everywhere in every corner in the countries. Of course, we have to go and overcome this COVID situation. And hopefully, like I say again, I hope it's end by the 3rd of November. But I think we have to learn how to live with this. The vaccine will come soon, and we need to keep guaranteeing that our destinations are safe for travelers, any travelers, and especially for the LGBT community, because they will look for those places that I call paradise in which you feel safe. And I feel safe in Costa Rica. We have no army since 1948. All the money we put in education and in healthcare at this point. But that safety and that information is very important to tell to the tourists in the coming future. So we can be the first destinations to be visited after the COVID. And it's very important, of course, to listen to the governments and learn from them. Thank you again, Argentina, for this great opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Something I think that is also important is the way that we build confidence is the way we deal with the crisis during the pandemic. We can see a perfect example in Costa Rica, and maybe even when it is criticized in some ways, the way that is being dealt in Argentina. We're putting much more emphasis to save lives than recover the economy. The economy is going to be recovered right after we save the most life we can. So that is the only thing I wanted to add.
Thank you so much. We have a question here for Erasmo. The question is, how do you envision the work of the NGLCC Global Division in its relation with affiliated chambers for the second semester of the year? Are there any projects you are working on that will take off in the short, medium term?
Yes, definitely. Our priority during the past couple of months has definitely been to focus on how to support our global affiliates. And now that we've sort of have all of that figured out and ongoing initiatives to focusing on that, we are looking into what the next 6 months will be about. And basically we need to, we're trying to implement additional virtual activities in order to create a platform for our global chambers to be able to talk about, you know, some of the things that Julio, for instance, just mentioned about his chamber. And so we would love to be able to provide that same platform to all of the chambers that we work with throughout the world. In addition to that, we also need to start planning ahead for what we call the Global Business Week, which takes place in Washington, D.C. During the month of November. So at the moment, we are trying to decide, or rather, we're waiting to see how the pandemic develops or continues to develop in order to, I guess, decide whether or not we're going to do that virtually or in person. And finally, we continue to engage with other potential new members throughout the Latin America region, Europe, and so forth. So those are all sort of ongoing projects that we would be looking into the next 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Erasmo. We will love to participate in the Business Week. And this is a question for Tom from Luigi. He's saying, thank you, Tom. This is Luigi Perez from Atlanta. We specialize in culinary tourism. How you see this special niche will be affected for this pandemic? Gracias.
I'm sorry, could you repeat how the question itself?
Yes, we specialize in culinary tourism. How do you see this special niche will be affected for this pandemic?
How to particularly address LGBTQ people?
Culinary tourism specifically.
Sure. Yep. Outdoor dining. If there are culinary schools and cooking schools, you could emphasize that there is social distancing. The LGBTQ community is very, very attracted to destinations with great cuisine. I think if we were looking at last year's study, we would see that dining out is almost the #1 motivator for people to travel to a different destination and to experience their cuisine. So we have a special challenge because we're not traveling as much. But I think that leveraging the interest in cooking, and we also, as part of our community survey, if you download that, you'll see we asked what activities are you doing at home during the lockdown. The #1 thing was learning how to cook. So there's a lot of interest in culinary schools and learning how to cook. I think a destination can leverage that. I think destinations across the board, including Argentina, including Costa Rica, can leverage the cooking and the cuisine. But it has to, again, be interlaced with the safety and protection of the people who are there.
Thank you very much. Pablo, do you want to add something to what Thomas said?
Oh, the only thing is we are working because, as he said, is one of the main motivators to go to a destination, even for our community. So our coordinator, Mercedes Blasi, she is in charge of gastronomy and wines, and also LGBT tourism. So we are constantly thinking of new things relating both products.
Thank you so much, Pablo. There is another question for you.
Yep.
And it says, we know that a huge part of the population and the economy move around the city of Buenos Aires and the metropolitan area, which happens to be the most complicated region in Argentina in regards to COVID-19. How do you envision this situation together with international flight restriction affecting the LGBTI private sector in regards to their business plans and internal dynamics with the provinces?
As I mentioned, we have now, for instance, when we talk about the travel agencies, 5,600 travel agencies with sales in zero, and it's going to be a step by step to recover their economies. The government has implemented plans to help them during the strong segment of this crisis. But on the other side, we also mentioned that 22 states out of 24 are experiencing different with the metropolitan area. So the beginning will be domestic travel between those areas that are allowed to work, maybe developing circuits between them, and also with as soon as the borders are open, circuits with our neighbors. It will be a step by step. I think it will take time to recover all the work we've been doing during the last decades, but there's no other chance to do it that this is the way.
Thank you so much, Pablo. So we have reached an hour and 5 minutes of webinar. I don't know if anyone of you want to add something or give a special message.
Well, I'd be happy to answer any questions as follow-up just through my email. If you have any questions about the research or want a copy of that, I'll be happy to send that along. So we can continue the conversation even after the webinar.
Well, I want to say thank you from Costa Rica to Argentina Embassy in DC for this great opportunity, and congratulate to the Argentina Chamber of Commerce for the 10th anniversary. I learned from those guys in the past before that, so I'm trying to follow and keep up with them. And thank you, NGLCC, for this amazing job that is doing through the global as well. And thank you for all the people who's watching the webinar. And thank you again for this opportunity to the Embassy of Argentina and US.
Thank you, Julio. So no one else?
From our side, thank you again to every one of you, and count on us whenever we can, as Tom said, we can reply by email any other question you can send us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It has been an honor to share this panel with all of you, and I hope we can do many more activities to promote businesses here in the US, in Argentina, in Costa Rica, and all the global division of NGLCC.
Gracias.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.